Da 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 da. Tequila Mockingbird. Da 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 da. Da-da-da-dum. 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 Da-da-da-da-da. Tequila Mockingbird. Let's start analyzing. Tequila Mockingbird. Let's start analyzing. I'm Vukovic Theolit. Vukovic Theolit.
Tequila Mockingbird, Chapter 2, Summer is Over, Injustice begins. Hello. Let's talk about our new character in the story. We get Miss Caroline. She is the new teacher at the school that Scout goes to. And the thing is that she causes trouble to Scout, meaning that Scout doesn't really like her. And the reason why Scout doesn't like her is because Miss Caroline does things in a way that, let's say, are untraditional. She doesn't believe in reading. More like so, she believes in that first graders must be only able to print and not actually be able to read. Of course, that confuses Scout because she's like, oh, I thought reading was a good thing. I thought it was good to read. Reading is, for me, like breathing. But before I can get into all that, 3 thought-provoking questions I have to ask you. Number 1, how are the Finch and Cunningham families similar and different in their ideologies and lifestyle? Number 2, why is Miss Caroline angry that Scout knows how to read, as I've been talking about already? And number 3, this is a moral question, so I won't answer it in the video. In regards to your social life, is the structure of school better or the structure of a neighborhood, which is basically near your home? And how so? For number 3, type it in the comments below if you want to share, and let's have a little bit of a feel-lit discussion on this. Let's get back to this video, shall we? All right, so we're talking about this, and what we're talking about is Miss Caroline. She's a very flowery teacher. What I mean by flowery is that she kind of stands out like a flower. She's definitely considered beautiful, but she definitely fits that stereotype, at least in this book, as a quote-unquote dumb blonde, even though she's not a blonde, but she is a little bit, not, maybe dumb is not the right word, but the right word here is ignorant, not understanding the situation at hand. And the reason why I think that she's ignorant is because Miss Caroline does not understand what comes with living in the Deep South. The Deep South is also known as Southern Alabama. Now, in Southern Alabama, there are certain things that don't happen in the area that Miss Caroline lives in, where she used to live in, at least, which is called North Alabama. Ooh, fun fact. But the reason why North Alabama and South Alabama are so much different is for one specific reason that makes people in South Alabama, at least in this time, or at least according to this book, hate North Alabama. You see, it all comes down to the Civil War and where the lines in the map stand. South Alabama was part of the Confederate States of America, while North Alabama was not. Where she comes from, Miss Caroline, she comes from Winston County. And Winston County was part of the Union, not part of the Confederates. So essentially, a lot of people believe that she does not understand them, because the Union was in stark opposition to the Confederates 100 years ago. And the reason why was because they were fighting a war called the Civil War. Now, besides the Civil War and all, this just indicates that Miss Caroline is definitely not ready to teach, because also she's a very flowery lifestyle, a very, let's just say, it's a very pretty lifestyle. It's a very, very, seems like a very rosy thing, very like pompous, out of, not really pompous, I guess, but let's just say that her lifestyle is not one of toughness. It's one that's very sensitive and very like, oh, don't hurt me. And this is, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a little bit stereotypical. And this whole idea of who she is definitely kind of portraying this stereotype. So I do not want to offend people when I say anything like this, but it is kind of part of this stereotype of, I don't know how to say this, but really kind of like that's, she kind of fits that stereotype of the suburban housewife in the 1950s and the 1960s. Really kind of like fits that stereotype of woman, how women are supposed to be like. And this is kind of in stark opposition to the setting. And the setting is what's called Macomb County. This is in stark opposition to Macomb County because her stereotype, or who she personifies someone who is kind of like sensitive to little issues and all of that, while here in Macomb County, people are very laboring. They put their sweat and tears into everything, and most importantly is that they will not stop. They will keep on going, and they are very, very, very tough. They are tough people. What that means is that they don't care what comes in the way. They're going to persevere. These people are farmers. And the farmers are the backbone of the United States. They're what gets the U.S., having their economy go higher. People can say all about, the backbone of our economy is our doctors. The backbone of our economy is our lawyers. But it's not. The backbone of our economy is our farmers, because our farmers provide food which other people all around this country need to live and to allow for those other jobs to get occupied. You can't be a lawyer if you don't have food at first. So farmers work freaking hard. They are literally workaholics. Their lives are darn hard. And that is a huge contrast to the people of North Alabama. And that's why she sticks out, quote unquote, as a sore thumb, which is a very, very, how do I say this? This has been used by a lot of people, so I'm not going to be original when I say this. In fact, our teacher used it just today, so I'm taking this from him. But really, she sticks out as a sore thumb. And what she does in her methods of education is she really dumbs people down. And this is what I like to call new learning. New learning is this idea of everyone must conform to certain standards. And if you don't conform to those standards, well, you're doing worse. You're not exceeding the standards. Instead, you should be restrained and pushed back behind. So let's say someone's on level 3 on math and someone's on level 1. And all first graders are required to be on level 1. Well, guess what? That person in level 3, they're not going to be applauded for going forward. They're going to be booed on. They're going to be asked to be restrained. They're going to be punished for doing that. Because everyone is born equal and does equal things. This is a very Fahrenheit mindset, in my opinion. But it's kind of the whole point of new education. New education is a huge problem because they're trying to teach old school ideas and problems in a new way by having it more like standardized. Everything is standardized. You don't learn to write, you learn how to print. And the reason why for this is because a lot of jobs are technical. A lot of jobs are factory-based. And that was kind of that problem in education. And I guess you can't really call this new learning because this was still old learning, but it has a lot of synonymous qualities with new learning today. And that's for a whole nother story because I'm not going to talk about that right now. But really just think about this as education is not well done, mostly because the teacher is ignorant and she doesn't really understand how to really, really teach. And I mean, she's young, so it kind of makes sense. She's only 21. It makes sense in the context, but really it's the standard education of the 1960s. 1950s, 1960s, that era. I don't exactly know when this is set in, but let's just not talk about that right now. And then what happens is that she picks on Walter Cunningham. Walter Cunningham is this person who lives in poverty. He's a kid. And she's like, Cunningham, why don't you have your lunch? Everyone has your lunch except you. And this is where we see the effects of poverty. You see, the Cunninghams, they do not give their son a lunch. And the reason why is because they know that they can't afford that. And they don't want to ask that from someone else because they are self-sufficient people. Their mindset is self-sufficient. They're not beggars. They're not wanters. They're going to do whatever they can do for themselves. And they're not going to ask for anything more that they know that they can't repay. This is very similar to the Finch family. I said this was part of the question one. This is very similar because the Finch family, they also have this mindset of self-sufficiency. If you look back to Simon Finch, he and the people who before the descendants on him, the people on that farm, they were very self-sufficient. All the resources, they made sure that these are the only they needed these resources because these are the essential resources to live. It was all the what do you need to live, what is essential, not having anything extra. But the thing is, Miss Caroline doesn't understand poverty as much. Poverty is a very, I think, hard issue for her to comprehend. But what I'm trying to, this is not, again, to be offensive. I don't want to be offensive. But what I'm trying to say is that Miss Caroline, she comes from North Alabama. And in North Alabama, there's a lot less poverty. And so when she comes down here, this is very new to her. She's not used to seeing people and not being able to afford their lunch. This is very weird to her. This is very strange to her. And that's why she asks him this question. And she doesn't really understand what he means. And then, what happens is that Scout speaks up for him because they understand each other. Scout's family has a similar mindset, and as the book says, familiarity breeds understanding. But I've answered question one. I've answered question two about standardization. Really, I think I've answered the majority of the questions. All I want you really now to think about as I end this Theolet video is ask yourself, is poverty sometimes better? Is it sometimes better to be poor than to take government loans? Because as we know, if you take government loans, you destroy tradition, you destroy heritage. If Mr. Cunningham had gone to work at the WPA, the government would have taken away his land. His land is his pride. So it comes down to this. Is it worth it to lose your pride? And should you keep your pride if that means that your wealth is low? If that means that you have to pay people back, not with money, but with lumber, with resources, with wood, it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if it's some food or anything. If it's just nuts, if it's something that you harvested off that farm, if you have to pay people back like that, is that worth it to keep your pride for your land? And more so, when you have a family, is it worth it? That's it for today. Respond in the comments with my answer to my moral question. Let's have a Theola discussion. And as always, thanks for reading. Guys, welcome back. I realized I'm doing the Crash Course theme music at the end. I'm going to try to change that. So sorry if I get flagged for copyright. That's my bad. But what I want you to do is remember to click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and keep on reading so we can keep on analyzing. Bye-bye.